What's up, everybody? In today's video, we're going to cover how to install some security measures onto our Kali Linux virtual machine and make sure you're not the hacker who ends up getting hacked. So let's get to it. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, this is the Alpha Cybersecurity YouTube channel, and I'm your host, DJax. Thanks for joining. In our last video, we covered how to install Kali Linux 2020.3 onto our VirtualBox environment. If you missed out on that video or the previous video on how to install VirtualBox, you can check them out over here. In today's video, we're going to cover how to install some updates as well as some security measures you can put on your Kali Linux virtual machine to make sure your computer or your virtual machine is up to date and ready to go to install any type of software or tools needed for our next steps. Most of all, you want to make sure that your Kali Linux is secure because you don't want to end up being the hacker getting hacked. But before we get to securing our Kali Linux virtual machines, please take a moment to like the video, like my previous videos, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications. That way you can be notified when new videos get posted or when I go live. And with that being said, let's get to installing some updates on Kali Linux. All right, so we're back in front of our Kali Linux virtual machine. We're at the login page. Now, like I said earlier, what we want to do before we install any applications or any tools to Kali Linux, we want to make sure that our Kali Linux is secure. Reason being is that when you first download Kali Linux and install it, is being downloaded and installed from a repository on the Kali Linux website. Unfortunately, so is everybody else. So you're getting the same default password, you're getting the same image of Kali Linux, you're getting the same SSH keys. So you want to make sure that your stuff is different. We want to make sure that Kali Linux is secured so that if, God forbid, you should lose your laptop or your computer that has this image installed, no one can just log in and say, oh yeah, I already know the password or I already know the SSH keys. So we're going to install new SSH keys. We're going to make sure that it's updated, and most importantly, we're going to change the password, which is what we're going to do first. So we're at our login screen, and like I said before, you want to log in with the default password of Kali and Kali. So that's username Kali and password Kali. And now you want to bring up your terminal. So once we're at the terminal screen, the first thing we want to do is change the password. So like I said before, we're going to go with the sudo command. And what sudo is basically a command that allows you to run any updates or any commands as an elevated user that otherwise you'll be blocked out from doing. So we're going to go sudo and we're going to say passwd. It's going to ask for our password, which is the default password of Kali. And now once that's submitted and entered correctly, it's going to ask us for a new password. Now this is where you want to change your password. So you want to make sure your password is secure enough where no one can guess it but you. And then once we do that, it's going to ask you to retype it to confirm it. And now your password has been successfully updated. Okay, so now that we have Kali Linux successfully updated with our new password, we want to update the image. Now there's three commands we're going to run. We're going to run an apt-get update, apt-get upgrade, and then apt-get dist upgrade. So apt-get update will update the available packages in their current versions. And then once we run apt-get update, we want to run apt-get upgrade. Apt-get upgrade will install any newer versions of any applications or packages that are installed on Kali Linux. So you want to make sure you run the apt-get update first, and then you want to run apt-get upgrade to see if there's any newer versions of the software or any of the tools that are already installed on your Kali Linux machine. And then finally, we're going to run apt-get dist upgrade. So that's dist. So this command will install and remove any packages that are outdated, and it'll install the newer packages.
So this is different from apt-get upgrade because apt-get upgrade does not remove the packages after you're installed. So dist upgrade will install them and then remove the outdated versions. So even though apt-get dist upgrade will install and then remove the old packages, which is a step further than apt-get upgrade, you still want to run apt-get upgrade first. So in the order you want it to go, you want it to go apt-get update, which will update the packages, upgrade, which will search for any new versions, and then dist upgrade, which will then install new versions and then delete the old versions. So we're going to run sudo again because we want to make sure that we're running it as an elevated user. And we're going to run apt-get update. And I ran this a little earlier, so it might be a little different for you guys, but what you want to do is you want to run it, and then once it's done, it'll read the packages, install any updates that needs to be updated, and then you'll get the done when it's done. Now that it's been updated successfully, we're going to run the sudo command again, and we're going to run apt-get -y upgrade. And the reason why I did -y is because when you run it normally, when you run apt-get upgrade or apt-get dist upgrade, it's going to ask you if you're okay with it. It's going to install this many megabytes worth of software. Are you okay with it? And then you can select yes or no. Obviously, if you select no, the install or the upgrade or the update won't go through. But if you run -y, you're basically telling Kali Linux that, hey, I'm giving you permission to just go ahead without stopping. Don't pause. Just go ahead and install my updates or my upgrades. So checking the command again, it's sudo apt-get -y upgrade. And I'm not going to stay here and go through the whole upgrade process, so we'll get back when it's done. Okay, so my apt-get upgrade has just been completed. Now sometimes you'll notice that you come back with some error messages. It'll tell you that it was unable to fetch some archives or something. So it'll tell you to either run apt-get update again, or you can run apt-get upgrade. But this time you want to run it with the flag fix missing or fix broken. So I usually run it with fix missing and fix broken. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit up because that's the last command we ran. And we're going to run the flag fix missing. And let's see what happens. So I'll see you guys when it's done. Okay, so now we installed the updates and the upgrades again. And then after that, we ran the upgrades with the fix missing and fix broken flags. So now we're ready to move on to the apt-get -y dist upgrade. And again, I like to just do fix missing or fix broken. Oh, I made a mistake. So you see what happens when you don't run it as sudo. If you don't run it as sudo, it asks you, hey, are you root? Because access is denied. So you want to run sudo apt-get -y. Remember, -y is just saying it as in yes, just go ahead and install it. Dist upgrade and then fix missing. And now, like I said, we'll come back when this is all done. Okay, so now we're back. We've successfully installed our updates. We ran our upgrades and then we ran our distribution upgrades. So now that we have everything secure with our password and we have our Kali Linux updated and upgraded to the latest versions of everything, the next thing we want to do to make sure that our Kali Linux is secure is we want to make sure that we have up-to-date SSH keys. So when we run SSH, the reason why you want to make sure you have SSH keys is because, like I said before, when you download and install Kali Linux, the image came with SSH keys that allow you to authenticate to the box without a password. You can do this remotely from another computer on your network. The problem with that is everyone who downloaded and installed Kali Linux also has the same SSH keys. So if someone were to know what these SSH keys are and they conducted like a man in the middle attack on your network, they would be able to gain access to your SSH session. Um, Again, you don't want to be the hacker who gets hacked. So the SSH keys are usually in the etc/SSH directory. So we're going to navigate to that directory, and then we're going to find um, all the SSH keys using the list command or ls. And then once we do that, we're going to replace the keys. Okay, so the directory we want to look for is etc/SSH. So we're going to navigate to that directory, then we're going to run the list command, which is ls, to find the keys that we're looking for. So we're going to go cd/etc/SSH, and now we're in that directory. And if we hit the list or ls command, you'll find everything that's in this directory. Now, the keys that we're worried about changing are these you see here that says SSH host. So all of them that says SSH host and then underscore or whatever, these are all the keys we want to change. So before we go ahead and change them, we want to make sure that they are successfully changed before we go ahead and delete them, so we don't run into any errors. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a folder in this directory, and we're going to move these SSH underscore host underscore. We're going to move these files into that folder until we know that we successfully have up-to-date SSH keys. So first what we're going to do is we're going to make a directory. So we're going to run the make directory command. So mkdir. Actually, we're going to run sudo mkdir just in case. And then we're going to name it old keys. And then it's going to ask us for our password. And now it successfully ran that command for us. So now when we run it here, if we run it, you'll see our folder called old keys right here. So now what we want to do is we want to move everything that says SSH underscore host underscore and then whatever, we want to move it into this folder just to make sure that the new keys are accurate before we delete them. So we're going to do that by running the command sudo again, because again we want to run it as an elevated user. And now we're going to run the move command, which is mv, and we're going to say SSH underscore host underscore, and then we're going to run this asterisk, and that asterisk is a wildcard. That's just saying basically anything that comes after that we don't care, but we want to move every file that has SSH host and then whatever after it. And then we're going to run it to move to the folder. I'm sorry, we're going to delete that, to old keys. So now if we're looking at it, we're saying sudo, so elevated user, move all these files that have this work, that have this naming convention into this folder. And then we're going to hit enter. And now you'll see we have the prompt back. So now if we, let's clear the terminal, and then if we run it again, you'll see everything that said SSH host is gone. However, if we ls into the old keys directory, you'll find all 6 of those files there. So great. So now that we have that and we have those old files out of the way, we can move with the next step, which is to create new SSH keys. So in this same directory, we're going to run sudo, and then we're going to run this command dpkg dash reconfigure open SSH server. And now it's going to take a couple minutes, or a couple seconds actually, and install some new keys. So now that we've done that, you want to run the ls command again, and you'll see that we have 6 new SSH host keys. And now to make sure that they're new SSH host keys, you want to compare the hashes. So we're going to clear this screen, And like I said, you want to compare the hashes of the SSH key. So you want to do that by checking the MD5 hash. So we're going to run sudo MD5 sum, and we're going to say SSH host wildcard. And now here are all the MD5 hashes for these new keys. Now you want to compare that to the MD5 keys from the old file. So you're going to run the same sudo MD5 sum, and then we're going to go, we're going to go etc SSH old keys SSH host, and now we'll go ahead and compare them. So if you look here, like I said, we ran the sudo command again. We asked the Kali Linux to check the MD5 hashes of our new SSH keys and then our old SSH keys. And now we just need to compare and contrast, and it won't take long. So if you see here, this ECDSA key, as you can see, there are two different keys. And then you can go down the whole list and see that they're all different. So now that we have confirmed that these keys are indeed different, we can go ahead and run sudo rm-rf old keys, and basically what we just told it is to delete that folder. So now we don't have to worry about those old keys being in there anymore. So now, just to recap, we've changed our password, we've installed updates and upgrades, and now we have changed the SSH keys. So our Kali Linux machines should be all different from each other. Now, if you want to go ahead and do other things, that is up to you. So in previous versions of Kali Linux, I would usually recommend adding another standard user. Some people said with Kali Linux moving to the 2020 version and this user being the Kali user, the default user being not as powerful as root, that they don't think they should do it anymore. But I still like to. So you can stop here if you want, but if you want to know how to add another user, you can continue on. The command, well, first we're going to clear our screen and we're going to back out of there. And like I said, we want to add another user. So we're going to run the command add user, and then whatever your username you want to be. So I'm going to say user djax. Sudo user djax. Okay. See, again, I forgot to run sudo, so the command wasn't found when I ran it the first time. So sudo add user djax. You'll see it created a user, it added them to a group, and it added and it created a home directory. So now it's asking for a password. So now you can just create a password that you want. Make sure that it's secure. And now it's also asking if you want to have any information. So if you want to add this information, you can. I usually don't, but that's really up to you. Okay, so now we have our new standard user created, but there's another step you can do. So in addition to creating that, like I said before, it created a group. If you want to add your user to the super user group, which will then allow it to run elevated commands when you use the sudo command, just like when you use a Kali user, you would run another command called usermod. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the usermod command, and we're going to tell it that we want to take our new user account and add it to the group sudo users. So the command to do that would be sudo usermod -a, -g sudo and then the username. So what we did is we said sudo again as an elevated user, modify this user account and add it. So -a would be add, -g would be group, sudo users, and then the user you want added to that group. So now that we know that the user is added to that group, you want to see if you can actually run elevated commands as that user. So you want to run the su command, which is super user, and then your username. It's going to ask you for your password. And now as you see, it says djax as Cali. So now the user has been switched, and now you're in their home directory. So what you want to do to test it is, remember before you couldn't run apt-get upgrade as a regular user, and as you see here, you still can't. But if you run it as sudo apt-get upgrade, it's going to ask you for your password to make sure that you're supposed to be in the super user group, and then it's going to go through, and if you see there, it actually asked me if I want to run any updates because it'll use additional space, and I had to hit Y. Now earlier we used the -y command. This is what happens when you don't use the -y command. It'll stop and ask you if you're sure. It'll give you a prompt telling you how much data it's going to use, and you could then continue by hitting yes or no. Okay, so just to recap, we changed our default user password from Cali to whatever we changed our password to. We also created another standard user, added them to the super user group, so we're not just using our default Cali account. We changed our SSH keys, and then finally we updated and upgraded our Kali Linux images. So there are a couple other things you could do if you choose to. You can update the Kali GPG keys. That was something you could do if you run into issues with installing any updates, but that's up to you guys. There's a couple of other little updates or things that people recommend, but I usually think with the Kali images, you can install the updates and create the user account, and everything should be fine. So I think we're all good with that. Now the last thing we want to do is we're going to shut down our virtual image. Okay, so now that we know that Kali Linux has all the things we need updated and upgraded with our username, our password changed, our SSH keys, all the updates and upgrades ran, and everything else we needed to get Kali up and running, the last thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a snapshot of Kali Linux. Now, some people don't care to do this because they're figuring, oh, it's just a virtual image, I can just download and install a new version. However, I like to install a snapshot, so this way, if I run into any issues after installing any tools or running any updates or other upgrades, I have a baseline image to get back to. What I usually do is I'll right-click my VirtualBox image, and I'll go up here to clone, and then you can name it whatever. So here's the name. It'll say VBox clone. I'll change it and say baseline, and I'll hit next. It'll ask you if you want to do a full clone or a link clone. I typically do a full clone. It's really up to you right here. So if you want to read it, you can say it's an exact copy and the original virtual machine will be created. If you do a link clone, the new machine will be created, but the virtual disk files will be tied to the virtual disk files of the original machine, and you won't be able to move it. So I usually like to do a full clone just in case I want to move it to, move this image to another computer. It's really up to you. So I'll hit clone. It's going to take a while to run that image, to download the cloning image, and once you do that, you'll be all set. Okay, so after about 8 or 9 minutes, VirtualBox successfully cloned the Kali Linux image. So now I have my baseline image. Like I said before, if my Kali Linux should crash because I ran another tool or I made a different configuration, I still have this baseline image. Now, typically what you can do is you can install different tools, and as you go along, you can use baseline image. You could create another image. What I've seen other people do is during penetration tests, they'll create an image before a pen test, and then they'll run the pen test, and to make sure that the files have been successfully removed, they'll delete that virtual machine image and revert back to their snapshot. So now that we have our Kali Linux all set up, in the next video we'll actually get to installing some tools. So to recap, we changed our password, we created another standard user account, we added them to the super users group, we changed our SSH keys, and we made sure our Kali Linux was updated and upgraded to the latest versions of the packages. So as always, if you like the video, please hit that thumbs up button. Leave any comments below about what you would like to see, or if you have anything you like to do when you're setting up your Kali Linux baseline. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you can be notified when other videos are released or when I go live. And we'll be ramping up real soon and getting to the pen testing. So thanks for joining, and you guys be safe and take care.